Alycia, thank you for taking time out of your day. And the reason I want to talk to you is because I'm talking to virtual assistants who are growing successful businesses. Mm-hmm. And the women that I have in my membership, they're all women who also are starting or growing their own virtual assistant businesses. And we'd love to hear from other VAs who are making this work, who are turning this into a success. And we love to hear your origin story, like how it all started. Who are you? How did you get into this business? And how are you doing now? So I guess the best place to start is at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how it all started. And before you start, sorry, if anybody has any questions for Alycia, please do feel free to put them in the chat. We can see it. Alycia can see them as well. This is a very kind of casual conversation. So please do be open and share your questions. There are no stupid questions. And I'm sure Alycia would be happy to answer them. But yeah, Alycia, please, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started.
Yes. So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me and having me. I've been excited about this opportunity for like the last 6 weeks. So I started my VA business in 2019. And the reason why I started it is I had a baby. His name is Cameron. I call him the caboose because there's 10 years in between him and my other son. And I was working in healthcare for 14 years before that. Very great career. Like I have no complaints there other than, the schedule, right? And I think that, and I can't speak for everybody, but speaking for myself, like the flexibility that having your own business provides is something that is, it just speaks for itself. And so I was on maternity leave and I just thought, I don't want to put my baby in daycare. Like with my other 3 kids, I didn't really have a maternity leave. And I knew that Cameron was going to be the last one. So I thought I'm going to do something different. And I started Creative PlanHer. For a couple of years before that, my sister-in-law owns a small business here in Denver, and I was helping her a little bit on the side, but it was more of just like a couple hours here and there, nothing like substantial. But when I was on maternity leave, I thought, she needs this kind of help. Surely other small business owners need the same. And so I took a leap of faith and I jumped, and 2 years later, almost 3 years later, here I am, and I couldn't be more excited.
Wow. That's quite a journey. I think a lot of us can relate to. You were working for do you want to say corporate? Well, you're working for a medical firm. Yeah.
It was the big hospital system here in Colorado. So I would say corporate.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So you decided you didn't want to be in corporate anymore. You wanted flexibility. And this was this kind of like right as the pandemic was happening, or
literally like right before? So I like publicly launched my business in August of 2019. And so I just was getting my feet underneath me. And then, the beginning of 2020 is when the COVID started. But I am grateful and I'm blessed to say that COVID didn't really impact my business. In fact, like I got to a point where I wasn't accepting new clients mid 2020 because I had so many and I couldn't keep up with them all by myself. But it was a wild ride the first year.
So what made you think, okay, you wanted to start your own business. You were kind of doing a few things for your sister. Mm-hmm. What made you think, okay, virtual assistants is the way to go?
Honestly, I felt like, one, it was the lowest overhead, right? Because I could do it from home. I already had a computer and internet. And then the second was I wanted that flexibility. I wanted to be able to work when I wanted. That's like a loose term. Yeah. But I wanted to be able to, I can do it early or I can do it late at night. And so that just seemed like the best fit. And I already had all of the tools that I needed to do that work. So that's where I landed.
So when you say tools, what do you mean?
I mean, like I already had a laptop, I had internet. In healthcare, I worked as a project manager for a little bit. So I already had like experience and knowledge on what it takes to kind of keep the balls rolling, whatever that looked like for the business owner. And so it just made sense. It didn't seem like it was going to be like a drastic change because I already have been doing some of these things just in a larger corporate setting.
Mm-hmm. And so your sister was your first like paying client? Or okay.
We did trades. She has a permanent makeup studio and did like lashes and stuff like that. So we did trades.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So when did you get your first paying client?
I got my first paying. So I launched my business August 19th in 2019. And I got my first paying client was like August 25th. So it didn't take long.
Oh, wow.
It didn't take long. And it worked out perfect because she was a nurse practitioner with a small behavioral health business. And so it was very apples to apples. I just came from healthcare. I knew how to like support her through that. And so she was my first longest client. Since then, she's moved on. She has like a team of other practitioners working underneath her. She has a brick and mortar and a full-time office manager. So that was like my first real client, get my feet wet, not family. So I had to like really have a process and structure and things like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you find her, or how did she find you?
It was actually a referral from a family friend. His sister is best friends with her, and they were at a baby shower and just said, "Oh my gosh, you have a lot going on. I know somebody that might be able to help you." And that's what happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And honestly, out of the clients that I have now, I would say only 4 of them have been non-referrals. Like all of my business has been via referral.
Are you listening to this, everybody? Referrals. This is where it's at.
Referrals. Yes. Yes.
And so when you started working with that client, did you have to do anything, any kind of tasks that you didn't already know how to do?
Yeah, so she did use QuickBooks, so I wasn't familiar with that. You know, our corporate world, there's a finance department, you don't even worry about that. And so that was something that I did have to learn how to use. I mean, it was very simple. And if I could say anything, I would just say, you know, there's YouTube and Google for everything. I'm not saying that you need to be the jack of all trades, but for, you know, pretty straightforward tasks, like for me, it was just reconciliation and some data entry. So that's something that I felt like, okay, this is going to be hard to mess up. But I would say that when things come your way that you aren't comfortable with, or that you don't feel like you even want to do, don't do it. I mean, there have been a few things where in the beginning where I was just trying to build this business and I was, you know, taking on work that probably really didn't belong to me. Full transparency, you know, I said yes to things that were that were over my head, and I was spending more time researching it on how to get these things done rather than just saying, you know, I can help you with these things, but these things I don't have a ton of experience, and that's okay. It's okay to say that.
So you took on jobs that you didn't know how to do, and you spent too much time trying to figure them out. Mm-hmm. What made you say yes to doing those things?
I was just trying to build my business. You know, this was probably, I would say this one was December of 2019. So I hadn't replaced my income yet. And so I was just trying to, you know, get to this dollar amount. And this dollar amount that I had in my head was, if I could just make what I was making in my corporate world, and actually it was even a little bit less. Like if I could just make this, I know that it's enough that my family will be okay. So as these referrals came, I just said yes. I just said yes. I'll do all of these things. And
and you realize now you shouldn't have said yes to all of them?
Mm-hmm. No, because so at the end of the day, the money wasn't worth all of the other things that came with it. Right. But I can say that now, but in the moment I was just like, figure it out, you know.
Because you said when you applied for this interview, you mentioned that you made your corporate income, you managed to replace it within 6 months of starting. So by December, January, February, or whatever, August, you replaced your income.
Yep. And more.
And more.
Mhm.
And so how many clients were you working with at one time to do that?
Well, I think I had 12 clients.
And you were doing them all on your own?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Was it all kinds of the same kind of tasks, or were they
No, it
all
was
asking for
it was a
different things?
mixed bag of things. However, the majority of the tasks are like social media management, and email marketing. And so when I say 12, like that sounds like a lot, but those types of things are easy to batch.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can kind of, get ahead a little bit if you just do them all. And then, it is a cycle, because then the next week you have to continue to plan. But it didn't make me feel so all over the place.
Mm-hmm. I get that. When you can kind of offer a very um, concentrated service, you don't have to switch gears all the time and doing
Yeah.
like so many different tasks at the same time for different clients.
Mm-hmm.
So have you ever thought about kind of niching in the service that you provide?
I have thought about it, and I hear the importance of doing that, but at the same time, it gives me like I don't want to be stuck in a box, right? That was the other thing about corporate. Like, you get in a position, or any other job, right? You have this position as a project manager, for example, and that's what they see you as. Like, there's no opportunity to go and be in any other space. And so that was a part of me starting this business too, is like, I can do a little bit of all the things that I like, which is like event planning and having like a creative outlet, which is the social media and that. But then I can also come to my computer and know that I'm scheduling meetings, and it's very like the structure, the very black and white part. And so that's where I struggle with niching, because that is what I like most about my business is Mondays and Tuesdays. I'm always doing social media, and Wednesdays and Thursdays are my other like pretty straightforward tasks. And I like that. It works for me.
That sounds great. If you're someone who can structure your days and your weeks like that and block your time out and batch your tasks,
Mhm.
that can be a dream. And it sounds like you've kind of totally nailed that.
Mhm. Uh,
We
that's aggressive.
Yeah.
I'm trying. It's a
You're
work
trying.
in progress.
You're always a work in progress. Of course.
Yeah.
There's always room for improvement. So
Yes. Yes.
it sounds like you've got it more or less under control.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're doing this because you want more time with your kids.
Mhm.
And I mean, are you getting that?
I would say sometimes it depends on the week, right? I think I have the ability to be where they need me to be, if that makes sense. So
Mm-hmm.
I have the ability to go to all of their after school sporting events and not have to worry about coverage or asking for time off. I have the ability to, have off Thanksgiving and Black Friday because I can. But that doesn't mean that I don't work Saturday and Sunday mornings while they're still asleep, or that doesn't mean that I'm not working after hours, but I'm okay with that. Like, that's the sacrifice. It's, I'll work late, but I can still be very present in everything that they have. And there's not a ton of field trips now with COVID still, but I don't have to miss any of those things because I can make my schedule around it.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my kids are back. Okay, so we have some questions.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
That's okay.
I had a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So in terms of the referral program, so that was something.
Can I just read out the question real quick?
Yeah,
sorry, just because I'm going to share the recording. So Helena says, this sounds like my life right now, trying to decide if I will go back to work after my maternity leave. And you've also asked, Helena, did you create a referral program, like a gift card for every referral that signed a contract?
Yeah. So in terms of the maternity leave, so when I was on maternity leave with Cameron, decided that I for sure wasn't going back to the hospital job, but I did pick up a part-time contract job while I was building this thing, just because I needed to still have money. So if you are in a space where financially you'll be okay, because I think like being financially okay kind of drives the emotional and mental portion that you have to be strong when you're at home with your family and your new baby. So just whatever makes sense for you. But if you can totally step away and work on your VA business full time, I highly recommend that, because you won't look back. It gets rocky, it gets bumpy, but it's all worth it in the end. And then to your second question about the referral program. So I didn't really know what that was supposed to look like. And so what I did was I just created a percentage off for every referral. So I offer, my packages are X amount of dollars, and depending on the level that this new client signed up for, I would give the referral like a break on there. So for example, if they were on the $400 a month package and they signed another $400 a month, I would give them $100 off. But if they were on $1,000 a month package and they signed another $1,000, it would be like more than that. So there was no method to my madness, really. I just was like giving discounts of what I thought might be fair for the referral.
Was that a one-time discount or off every month on their package?
It was just a one-time discount. And so the fine print in that was that the person had to sign for at least a month, because for me, I go month to month. I don't really have anybody committed for a long time, just because that gives me anxiety if I don't want to work with them anymore, or they don't want to work with me. I don't want to be stuck, either of us to be stuck. Yeah. And so as soon as they signed their contract, they made their first payment, then the client who referred them would get the discount on the next month.
Got it. Okay. That you bring up another point that comes up a lot in my membership is whether you should invoice ahead of doing the work or at the end of the month. So what do you do, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I charge at the beginning of the month.
Perfect.
And I don't really know why. I just did. That's just how I started. I will say that even today, like I have people that are like, well, I have to pay you before you do the work, but I'm better at standing my ground on that now, of saying like, yeah, you pay for everything in advance, right? You don't go to Macy's and say, well, I'm not wearing this till next week, so I'll pay for it next week. And then you have to pay for it. So, and in all industries, right? Service-based businesses, photographers, they collect deposits, wedding planners. So I think that you just have to, like, it's hard. It's uneasy, because I personally I do not like difficult conversations. And that's been the hardest thing as a business owner, is like dealing with this conflict thing. But eventually, like, it just gets easier as you have those conversations. And honestly, if the person doesn't want to pay, or if it's like a gripe in the beginning, then that is your red flag that this might not be the best fit.
That's absolutely right. Mm-hmm. And do you charge, do you sell like packages of hours, or do you have packages of deliverables?
Both. And so I think, though, in 2022, I was like, what year is coming up? 2022, I'm going to packages only. And the reason why I'm doing that is hourly packages sometimes feel very restrictive, not only for me, but also for my clients. If I have to say, oh, you only got 10 hours and we're week 2 of the month and I'm already at 8. And so then I have to say, well, how do you want to prioritize? Or is it okay that I go over? Because if I go over, then my hourly rate is more. So I just am feeling like I'm getting away from that, just so that I think from a customer service perspective, it just feels better, right? You book this package and you know that throughout the month, all of these things are getting done. We'll see how that goes, because a lot of people still want hourly. And so I'm kind of a little sissy and I'll just do whatever they want. So we'll see. But that's my plan, is to just do packages starting in 2022.
That's interesting. I like that. I'm curious to see how that goes.
Yeah.
So Elena asks as well, where you're selling packaged hours, do you roll over hours if they don't get used in the month?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I allow them to roll over only 2 hours. And the reason why I do this is this was another lesson learned. I had somebody on a 10-hour a month package and only used 2 hours for the whole month. And then next month I have to like fill it's just hard to manage, right? I feel like 2 hours, I can fit that in on a weekend if I had to, but any more than that, it just really messes up my block schedule of how I do my work. So and they only have 60 days to use those hours, and they can only have a max of 4 in their bank at any time. So basically if you don't use them, then you lose them. So that's how it goes. And then with the hourly packages, because I do allow my clients to like increase or decrease their packages on a monthly basis. So they would just have to let me know mid-month that next month they want to cut down, so that when I bill them, it's going to be for 10 hours and not 20 hours.
Got it. And do you have anybody ever question you like on what you're doing with those hours? Like, do they ever, like, why did it take you so long to do this? It should have only taken 5 minutes. Like, how do you respond to things like that?
Yeah, I clock my time for the people that are on hourly. I have had a lot of clients that have already switched over to packages, but I use Clockify to keep track of every task that I do. And Loom, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but it's like a screen recording tool, and that has become my best friend lately and this is a good example of, it's very easy for somebody to give you a task and just, then you run with it with no understanding of everything that it takes to get that done. And so there have been times where I've screen recorded all of the steps that I had to take to complete something if they question it, so that it makes sense to them. Like, oh, it really wasn't as simple as just like entering this data. Like I had to go research here, and then I had to go over to this website. So that's I don't know. I think it's kind of the nature of the beast. I will say that, the clients that are on the lower end of the packages usually have the most questions. The higher packages, they are like, here you go. I know that you're doing good work. I know that you're getting it done, and there's never a question.
See, like, I love that, because the tire kickers, the ones who are not going to pay, they're the ones that are going to be the most annoying. So do you think that's encouragement for those of us who are just starting out to kind of maybe ask for a more fair price? Because so many of us starting out, we all think we should start low. Like, what do you think about that? Or even do work for free to begin with?
I don't like, I'll say now, like, I don't like doing anything for free, but I say that to also say I did a lot of work for free in the beginning. And free, whether that was straight out free or free being I didn't charge what I was worth, so at some point they got something for free. I think that as you are starting out and you're really spend time understanding who it is that you want to work for, because I think that also like lowers the pool, and it gives you the freedom, and it makes you feel more empowered to charge your price. If you know that the business owner that you're going for is a solopreneur, but that they, make $1 million, I'm making all this up. That they make $1 million, you don't feel so bad about charging them $30 an hour because, so I think, and when you have these discovery calls, listen to your intuition, listen to your gut. If they seem like they're all over the place on the discovery call, you can use that opportunity to run if you want. But then it's a double-edged sword, because some of those people are all over the place, but that's why they're looking to you for help. So I think, it's just experience, right? You just have to kind of hit all of these new challenges and digest them. And sometimes you're in it and it's yucky, but then it's just a lesson learned, and you just know what to do different next time.
Yeah. Lila, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. The software was Loom. So I think it's getloom.com. If you just Google Loom, it should come up. So did you have an idea then of who you wanted to work with when you first started out?
Nope.
So how did you figure that out?
I was just like, I'm gonna work with whoever I want. Whoever wants to pay me, that's who I'm gonna work with because I need to make money. I figured it out really through just trial and error, right? I mean, like the example I just gave in terms of, you're on the discovery call and they're all over the place, or you're on a discovery call and they need help with 27 things. What I have learned is there might be some business owners that need 2 or 3 VAs, right? It goes back to our conversation earlier about like really do the work that you're passionate about and where your strengths are and not trying to fit yourself in what they need, because they might need you for social media and then they might need a tech VA to help them with their website. So I think that it's really understanding what work you will enjoy doing, what work your skill set will allow you to be successful in, and then that helps you identify like who do you want to work for. That helps me identify because I understand that as a small business owner, you have to be mindful about budget and this, that, or the other. But I also understand as a business owner, when you invest in the right things, it allows you to make more money. So for the business owner that comes to me saying that they need me to do 27 things, that's not going to be the best fit for me, because you're wanting to pay me the VA rate, but what you really need is a business strategist, what you really need is a business coach, what you really need is a website designer, and that's way above my pay grade, and you're trying to smush them all into one and make me accountable to all those things, and that's not how this works.
That is such a good point. And I feel like the business owners themselves need to be educated a little bit as to what VAs actually do, because what they actually sometimes need is a coach, even a strategist, like you said, a full-blown web designer. Like those are premium services that are charged at a premium, not at VA rates. Exactly. And that needs to be communicated clearly to potential clients.
Yeah. And even the difference between VA and online business manager, like just that back end Swiss Army knife, like that's not what I do. I don't do that. And I still struggle with telling people what I don't do. Sometimes I will like move the needle a little bit and I can help get them started, because it's not that I can't do it. It's just, that's not what I want to do. And that's not really what you're paying for, right? Like you said, it's a premium service and that's not what they're paying for.
Yeah. And that's totally fine. So where are you right now with your business?
Oh, still learning, still learning, still growing. Just looking at ways to, make passive income. I think now that I feel like I have laid a good foundation and understand, I'm using that very loosely, how to run a business, that now it's time to not be so hands-on with everything and have a way to make some other income. So I am working on just marketing strategy and to kind of figure out what that even looks like. I feel like there's a lot of things out here, right? When you're on social media and like, oh my gosh, this person's doing this. And it's so easy to get distracted by all of these shiny things. So I'm really just trying to like dial it back, figure out what is going to work for me and not necessarily what everybody else is doing. So the long answer to your question is I'm just really figuring out my marketing strategy for 2022 and how I can create some additional streams of revenue.
I love that. There's a question that I completely ignored. Marcia, I'm so sorry. For times off, holidays, time off, etc., do you have other VAs you collaborate with to cover, or do you have associates?
I do not have anybody. So I did have a VA that was working with me for a while, a couple of months, and then she decided to go back to being a stay-at-home mom, which is totally understandable, and I 100% support her in that. So before 4 weeks ago, yes, I had a person that I could collaborate with, but now I'm back to just me. But I do, in my like welcome packet to clients, I do have outlined the days that Creative Planner is closed and don't work. And so I also send message it, like email to them, letting them know when it's time for, if time off is coming up. And at our one-on-one, we will discuss the plan for the support while I'm gone if needed. And if not, then it's just I commit to all of your social media will be done before I'm out. And then I'll pick up where I left off when I come back so that there's no real gap in coverage. Great, I also haven't taken off like a whole week and gone on vacation, so I don't know what that is like.
So there's a few questions that I ask at the end of our sessions. There's 3 of them. I'm trying to figure out the best order to ask them you in. So do you consider yourself successful right now? I know that's a very loaded question, but do you feel like your business is moving in the direction that you want it to?
I do. And it's funny that you asked this question because I was sitting on the couch with my husband last week and I said, I feel like I'm being trolled right now. Like all of a sudden I just had this overwhelming sense of like, oh my gosh, this is real life. And the reason why I said that is in May of this year, I leased an office space. And the goal was, one, that I was hiring a person. And then the second thing was to have a kind of community or co-working space in my city because it's smaller. It's not downtown. Anyway, so we did this whole thing in May and I've done a really bad job about marketing it, this, that, or the other. But last week I got 3 people booked to rent this space. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, like, even when you don't think that things are working, they're working. And so if I could leave you with anything, I just say just keep going. Like some days it feels like, what the heck am I even doing? I'm going back to a real job or whatever that looks like. And just like take a step back, turn your computer off, walk away and come back to it because it will work. It will work. You will get there. And so I say, yes, I feel like my business is going where I want it to go. No, it's not perfect. Yes, I still have a ways to go and I'm learning things every day. Like I'm learning how to do this because somebody did it for me. I just showed up, I clocked in and all the tools and everything that I needed, the resources were there, but this is not that. And so it is just constantly evolving.
I think you've just answered my other 2 questions, which is what do you think that you've done differently to other virtual assistants who may have started and tried and failed that has made you where you are right now feeling successful in your business? What have you done differently, do you think?
I mean, I don't know. And I really try not to compare myself to other VA business or any other business for that matter, because my path is different. Their path is different. And I just feel like I am taking every opportunity with an open mind and figuring it out. I think what I'm doing differently and what I would love to see more of is people sharing kind of the failures. And I don't like to look at it as a failure, but like those learning opportunities, right? Those lessons learned. I think that if I could have found more of that in the beginning, that maybe I wouldn't have made some of those mistakes, or I would have been more aware of like earlier, who do you want to work with? Or why did you take this work that you didn't really want? Like if somebody would have told me or shared a story of, well, yeah, this one time I did that and I really messed it up and this is why you shouldn't. And I think that part of one of my goals for 2022 is just that, like sharing my story and being a cheerleader for other, veteran VAs and new VAs. Like we all have something valuable to bring to the table, and really like we all shine bright in our own light, and there's no reason to withhold information or to not collaborate, because we're all, there's enough room for all of us to be great, and let's just celebrate each other and support one another.
Absolutely. So I guess this is a great segue into what if you could, knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would do differently?
Yes. I would have definitely had like the back end process a little cleaner before I started. So I started and I made sure that I had a website and I made sure that I was posting on social media. But what I didn't do is, okay, when you get 5 discovery calls and they all convert, how the heck do you onboard them? I was going to cuss and I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on here.
I'm fine with it, but yeah.
Okay. How do I make sure that I have all my poop in a group and I'm supporting them? I'm communicating. They feel good about this investment that they just made. So that would be something that I definitely would have done different is, when you get a new client, what does onboarding even look like? And I mentioned that in my welcome packet that I have holidays on there. I didn't have that in the beginning, but it was just like 4th of July. And I had to like tell clients that I was going to be off. And they're like, whoa, what about my email? Like stuff that I didn't think about. So if I say that to say, just have your kind of back end policies and workflows organized, or maybe even if it's just drafted and you have something that you can refer to, do that in the beginning. You can get a website, you can post on social media whenever, but the real like core of your success is built on like how are you actually going to do the work.
Excellent. If anybody has any final questions for Alycia, I'm going to ask my final question. Well, my second to last question, which is, you may have answered this already as well, but the question is, what advice would you have for women who are just starting out?
A lot.
One piece of advice, if it was going to be one thing.
I would say the one thing, in addition to making sure that you know, like, how are you going to do this work, would be the time blocking and the calendar management. I think that when we start, we think like, oh, I'm only going to have 1 or 2, but you might have 7 or 8. And so it's really important to know like where in your schedule can you fit in this work. And also when you're having these discovery calls, you need to communicate that to the client, right? Like that's another lesson learned that I wish somebody would share with me. If like, you have to be very clear with these people on when you're going to work. If your hours are, I work from 6 a.m. to 8 before I take my kids to school, and then I have a break, and then I work this, like make sure that that is well communicated, and so that you have an idea of, one, what your bandwidth even is. Can you take care of all these clients? And 2, how you can set up your day so that you can have that work-life balance. That is the reason why you started this business.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Alycia. If we wanted to learn more about you and the services that you offer and Creative PlanHer, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Creative PlanHer, and I can type it here in the chat. Also, my website is just creativeplanher.com. I'd love for you to go over there. Let me know what you think. And even if you don't like something.
I love your website.
Yeah, you can tell me what you don't like about it, or, I'm always looking for support, feedback, thoughts. Again, especially on social media, like you can scroll and this VA, like, oh my gosh, her profile looks so beautiful and all these things. So, yeah, that's where you can find me hanging out. If you are ever in Colorado, you can also find me in Colorado in person.
Are you? Oh, there you are. Creative PlanHer. Awesome. Helena actually asked, if I'm at full capacity, should I continue to take discovery calls? Did you have a wait list?
I always take discovery calls, even when I'm booked. And the reason why is I would rather have the conversation and have the opportunity to make an impression on this person, even though I know I can't take this job right now, but it's just that connection and just that introduction. And then when you are open to new clients, then you can reach out to that person and check in and say, hey, how's it going? I just wanted to let you know I have some space in my calendar now, and just checking in with you. But also, you just never know. You just never know who that person might refer you to, or, I think it's always important to just have that conversation. And the discovery call can look different with the client, with that client, than it would if you really were like had availability, right? You can kind of modify your questions or however you, whatever your process is, but still definitely touch that person.
Agreed. It's always great to create relationships when you have the opportunity to do so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if nobody else has any other questions, I'm just going to say thank you, Alycia, for joining us. Definitely go check out her website, creativeplanher.com, and also on Instagram at creativeplanher. Your story has been super inspiring. I'm sure so many of us have taken so much away from it. And thank you, everybody, for joining us live. This has been recorded, and I will share it in the Inner Circle Learning Portal if you are a member. And everyone else, thank you so much, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you, Alycia.